So in this episode of Pointers and Pints, we are going to be covering how to find the best Airbnb. I'm Carrie, this is Brian, and we travel full time. So we stay in Airbnbs every month. So we do have a little bit of experience in this. Now, Airbnb recently changed their platform. They have more search options, and they also have something called Air Cover, which covers you when you find a place. If you get there and it's not exactly how the host had promised it to be, or there is problems and they weren't resolved, there's now a level of coverage for you. So you might want to read a little bit more into that. Let's get into it.
So our first tip is to make a list of what you think is important in an Airbnb. What are you looking for? What do you have to have?
Some of those key things that you want to ask yourself. Do you need a bedroom? So when you're looking at places, a lot of the time what's going to come up is a room only. So make sure you're checking the box for entire place. Do you need Wi-Fi? Are you a digital nomad? Do you need to make sure there's good Wi-Fi? Do you need outdoor space? What about in a kitchen? What kind of things do you want in a kitchen? Do you want to make sure there's a microwave, a coffee pot, all that kind of stuff? Do you travel with pets? So just kind of make that list, items that you need.
Okay, number 2, pick a location. What country, what city, what part of that city are you looking to stay in?
So a couple things to do in this, zoom in on a map. So if you're looking at a city, before you're all of a sudden starting to look at Airbnbs, find out kind of where you want to be in that city. What things do you want to be near? Are there, I don't know, things that you're going to be doing while you're there that you don't want to have to be getting a taxi or a bus each time. So make sure you really kind of pinpoint the areas that you want to be. The other thing is be flexible. Flexibility is going to save you money in the long run. So if you do have some flexibility on location a little bit, if you stay in the hub, if you stay in Old Town, right in the city center, you're going to pay more money. Be willing to maybe go a little bit outside of that area. You don't have to go far, surprisingly, and you will start to save some money. You'll also find a whole different, you'll get a lot more for your money.
We're usually a 5 or 10 minute walk, 10-15 minute walk from any major hub or any place you might want to be. Okay, our third pointer is to narrow down your search and search settings. You can narrow everything down, kind of fine tune it to get exactly what it is you're looking for.
So when you're setting your dates, be flexible with those dates. Be willing to move them around a little bit because you could really see a big difference in the price that you're going to be paying. The next thing that you need to do is set your budget. If you don't set a budget, Airbnb is going to show you all of the really high, expensive, most popular places. Setting your budget and bringing it down a bit is going to show you a lot more places that are available. The other thing is zoom in on that map on Airbnb, and you're also going to see a lot more places come available to you as well. The next thing that you want to put in your search selection is some of your must-have items that we were telling you to list in the beginning. One thing to note though is do not put in too many items, because all of a sudden you might start eliminating places that look really great and maybe they just didn't have one specific little item. So don't narrow it too far, but make sure you get your key things in there. For us, those key things are, we want to have the entire place. We don't want a shared space. We want a wash machine. We're staying for a month. So make sure those really important items are definitely in your selection. Another thing that we do, if there's a lot of properties to select from, is you can select Superhost and you can select Plus Properties. And this will just kind of narrow it down. These places have reached a higher standard in the eyes of Airbnb.
Okay, number 4. Now that you've found a few places that you're really interested in, compare them against each other. Really dig deep into those listings.
The first thing that we do, if we find a listing that we really like, we look at the pictures. Dig deep into those pictures. Zoom in on those pictures. We're looking for things in the kitchen. There are certain things we want. We want a coffee pot. Does it have a coffee pot?
Microwaves are always nice.
And you don't find them very often.
No.
The other thing that we really like is we want a bedroom. We don't want it to be a studio. Some places will say they have a bedroom, but it's a studio. When you dig into those pictures a little bit, you can sometimes see that that bed is actually in your main living space.
And Carrie sleeps in too late, so I don't want to bother.
Not true. Also, be aware of what the pictures aren't showing. So when they say to you that they have a great deck, what's the view from the deck? Because if there's a really great deck with a great view, they're going to show you the view. Yeah. When they just show you a picture of the deck and it's facing towards the place, it's probably not a really great view and you might be looking at a wall. So once again, just look at the pictures. The other thing that you want to do and spend a lot of time doing this is look at the reviews from the other people who have stayed there. And when people say things like the place isn't clean, or they say that it was hard to get into, the instructions from the host weren't good, or they couldn't get a hold of the host, believe those.
Those things matter.
Those things matter. We've had enough experience with it. Just move on to the next place that you're interested in. When you're checking through the reviews, look at those things that are really important to you. Do you need Wi-Fi because you're going to be working from home? Is it important to you that a place is really clean? All of those things, just look and see if they're mentioned a few times in those reviews. You're going to want to just stay away from that place. In the end, it really comes down to trusting your gut instinct. If you start reading something and reviews aren't current and they're mentioning things that you're just not comfortable with, just go with your gut and move on to the next listing.
Okay, pointer number 5. You have found the perfect place. You're excited, you're ready to go. Make sure you read the fine print.
One thing that you do, as soon as you found that place, you plugged in your dates and all of that, click the reserve button, and that's just going to take you to the next page, and it's going to show you any of those fees that are added on top of the amount that you're going to be paying. And sometimes, depending on what country you're in, or even the host, those fees can really add up. And so you're going to have service fees, you're going to have cleaning fees, and anything like that. The next thing that you're going to want to look at is the house rules. In the house rules, there are going to be things like what time can you check in, what time is check out. One for us that we found, some places they charge you for the heat and the electricity when you're there. So some have quiet time, some just have some really involved rules, so make sure you read the rules. The other thing is reach out to the host. Go ahead and email them and contact them prior to booking with them, because you can ask them some of those questions. If you have any questions, if something isn't shown in those pictures or listed, just ask the host. It's also going to give you a really good idea if they're going to be a good host as far as getting back to you really quickly. So those are our top 5 steps. Here's 2 other little bonus tips for you. Go on to Airbnb and make sure that you have set up a profile. The hosts use your profile to also kind of check you out. And so if you have that ready to go, the likelihood of them accepting requests for booking is going to happen. The one thing that the host cannot see until after you have booked is your profile picture. So they're judging just off the information that's in there about you.
So the second part of that is be a good guest on any of your Airbnb listings. When you stay somewhere, follow the rules, be a good guest. You're in their home, so keep it clean, follow the rules.
So we hope that you enjoyed this episode of Pointers and Pints, and like we mentioned before, if you have any other topics that you'd like us to cover, put them in the comments below. If you would like a more in-depth, detailed description of how we do our Airbnbs, like we mentioned, put that in the comments below as well. Make sure and subscribe, ring the bell, and then you get notified when we have our next videos come out, which is every Thursday and Saturday. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.